Around 6 years ago when I started on YouTube, it all began with Pro Cycling Manager, a PC game where you can play as a manager of a cycling team. Now, my last Pro Cycling Manager video dates from 2022 because, I'll be honest, I got bored of the game. But last week I thought to myself, I kinda wanna play Pro Cycling Manager again, and luck behold, Pro Cycling Manager 2024 is here. So, for the first time in a very long time, I'll start my video with welcome back to Pro Cycling Manager 2024. My name is Benji, and today is the start of our new career mode. Now, since I'm looking for a challenge in this game, we'll be playing on extreme difficulty, which in the past was actually relatively doable, but I haven't played the last two editions of the game, so I don't know if that changed. Thing is, as of recording this video, the game isn't officially out yet, so I had to make my own real name database so I can play with real names as always, there's a few teams in the game that the game does not have the license to use their real names. That being said, I do plan to switch to the World DB after Season 1 to have a more established world around my team and more realistic gameplay. But anyway, the time has come to select our team for our Pro Cycling Manager 2024 career mode. Now, I did ask on Twitter what team I should play with in this career mode, and a lot of you suggested World Tour teams like Alpecin de Koning, Ineos Grenadiers, putting Astana back on the map, Visma Lease Bike, UAE Team Emirates, but reality is, I feel like that's a bit too easy, so I won't be doing a First Division World Tour team, neither will I do a Pro team, a Second Division team like Euskaltel, Lotto Destiny, TDT Unibet, UnoX, Tudor. I'll be going for a UCI Continental team, a Third Division team in cycling, because I feel like we can build up a smaller team and build him into a World Tour team and win the biggest races in the world. We'll be starting our Pro Cycling Manager 2024 career mode with REMBE Pro Cycling Team Sauerland, a German UCI Continental team, relatively humble beginnings, but the start of an empire in my opinion, because there's some young talent in this team that can be built upon, but next to that, I also just want to put the German country back on the map of cycling. Anyway, it's time to start our career mode, and let's start off by taking a look at our riders. So this is our roster. We've got 15 riders in the squad of REMBE Pro Cycling, and the majority is German as you would expect. The majority is actually also 21 years old or younger, so a vast amount of young prospects in the squad, but taking a closer look at the stats, only 4 stats in the entire team that are 70 or above, so we've got some building up to do. Our highest rated rider is Jacob Scott, British, 28, and a bit of a hilly sprinter with 69 sprint, 69 hills, and also 67 acceleration. Now, he is 28, so probably won't grow too much from this point onwards, but he's our most established rider. And apparently out of contract, so that's something we'll have to look at by the end of the season. Our best climber is from Spain, Iago Aguirre. He's got 67 mountain and 4 potential out of 6, so there's some chance there that he grows out to be a rider with stats into the 70s in this career mode, so I see value in this guy. And actually, I forgot to mention the most important part, this guy's only 19 years old, so a long road ahead. On to another youngster, our second best climber on the team, Julian Boresch. He's 21, and when it comes to his stats, 66 mountain, but a bit more versatile when it comes to the hills. So 68 hills, bit of acceleration there as well, so should be a solid rider throughout the season. We know Jacob Scott was our best hilly sprinter, but his flat sprint stats were also the best of the team. Dominic Wise is second to that. We've got 68 sprint, 67 acceleration, 21 from Switzerland, solid talent, solid sprinter, so he's gonna be useful as well. But arguably our most talented sprinter is Jonathan Rothman, 19 years old only, German rider. He's got 67 sprint, 67 acceleration, and 4 potential, so a long road ahead, but a chance that he will be 70 plus in sprint in the future. I'd classify Paul Wright, our New Zealand rider, as one of the most versatile riders in our team. He's got those hill qualities, an okay sprint at 66 cobbles as well. He's like solid all over the board. A bit of a barrier specialist. He likes to go in breakaways, and that's kind of what I'll use him for, I think. I would also like to mention Henry Johannes Appelbaum. He's a 19-year-old rider on the team as well. 3.5 potential, but already a solid climber. 66 mountain, 67 hills, so I can work with this, I can build on this, and he's going to be part of our climbing squad this year. Anyway, those were the 7 highest rated riders on our team. You'll get to know the rest of the riders. There's some talents in there throughout the season, race by race, but I do want to get to the season preparation and get the season started. So let's go. Let's start off with our race calendar. First of all, I try to focus on planning in German races together with races in neighboring countries of Germany, together with the races that the real team of REMBE Pro Cycling is doing in real life. And it's actually a pretty calm start to the season for us. Valenciana, a one-day stage race in January, and after that we go towards Turkey for the Tour of Antalya for 4 days. And it's really March where there's a lot of races that we are doing, including the likes of Tour de Taiwan, but also the Olympias Tour, which is a 5-day stage race with quite a bit of sprints in there. In the second quarter of the season, we actually returned to Turkey for the Tour of Turkey, and after that, finally a German race. Edgewood Frankfurt, the U23 version, our first German race, the first time we go to home grounds to try and prove ourselves. And it doesn't stop there, because at the end of that quarter, we've got the Köln as well, another one-day race in Germany. In the third quarter of the season, we kind of combine Austria and Germany, the Oberösterreich Rundfahrt and the Deutsche Meisterschaft National Championships. But after that, once again, Tour of Austria, an Austrian stage race, and towards the end of July, Radam Ring, another German one-day race. Now, arguably our most important race lies in August. We've got the Deutschland Tour, a 5-day stage race in Germany. It's a tour of our home country, so we gotta perform there together with a one-day race after that. The Erzgebirgsrundfahrt, I think I somewhat correctly pronounced that. We've got the Münsterland Giro as well in October, so a lot of German races again, but next to that, combinations with Austrian one-day races, with the Tour de Luxembourg, even the Arctic Tour of Norway. So we've got some good races on the menu throughout the season, but let's hope we can go to every single one, because I requested access to these races, and in the coming days in the career mode, those races will tell me whether I can actually show up and I'm allowed to compete in them. So let's cross our fingers. Now, with our calendar relatively set up, that brings us to one of the new, or at least very revamped features of Pro Cycling Manager 2024, the race objectives. This thing has changed completely. So on the left of the screen, we've got a list of races that I think we can select as race objectives, with an icon that I think represents the importance of that race to our sponsor, and a point system, which I think is related to the conditions on the right of the screen. We need to select 1 to 2 races per period, so per quarter of the season, and we gotta spend between 6 and 10 points over the season. So for example, if we add the Deutschland Tour, which is one of our most important races of the season, we've now got a current total spend of 2 points, and looks like over here we have now selected a race for quarter 4, so period 4 of the season. That being said, stage top 5 seems kind of ambitious for the Deutschland Tour, so let's take a look at what's possible. We can go from winning the race, which won't happen, all the way down to visibility 1. I don't know what that is. Seems to be something related to breakaways. Yes, it is. So a combination of results and breakaways. Being at the front of the races is the breakaway spot, and results like top 10 in stages, but also wearing a KOM jersey, for example. So I like this. I think that's actually the perfect one to do for the Deutschland Tour, but then I look right here and we get a 1 next to it, which I think is the considered difficulty of that objective by the game, and that means that the team will have X amount of confidence. So the harder our objectives, the more confidence REMBE as a sponsor will have in us if we achieve those objectives. I think that's how I perceive this system, which I think that's pretty good. I'll go through all these races and I'll set up some goals and I'll be back in a second. It actually took a while, but here we go. We're starting off with a goal in Q1, that is Olympias Tour. I want to get a top 10 in GC, which that is a 5-day stage race, and the prologue doesn't really fit us, but there's a lot of intermediate sprints where you can get 6 bonus seconds. So my strategy for that race will be get in breakaways, get bonus seconds, and try and find my way into the top 10 FGC that way, and I think that's viable. The second goal is one of the most important races of the season, Edgewood Frankfurt U23. We gotta try and get top 10 on this parkour. It's a sprint on paper with some harder climbs on the route. I think that's possible. The next one is Köln, also an undulating parkour with a flat sprint at the end. Top 10 should be possible. In the national championships, the Deutsche Meisterschaft, the parkour does not really fit us, so I went with visibility 1. Going in breakaways is the only thing I can really do in that race, and the same counts for the end of season Deutschland Tour goal, because that race is hard, has proper World Tour competition, so breakaways, KOM points, intermediate sprints, that's our aim. We do want to get a top 5 at the Radam Ring, smaller race though, and that parkour is kind of hilly on the Nürburgring, so that's intriguing, but I think those are the goals we set out. In total, we have around 6 races in our race objectives with an average difficulty of 2.8, and if we achieve everything we set out to do when it comes to objectives, we will have a confidence by REMBE, the sponsor, of 69, so very nice. Now for this next spot, I do want to give a proper shout out to the game developers, because 2 years ago I brought out a tweet where I said they need to rework the sponsor objectives in the game, not just have race objectives, but also career and maybe season objectives. And that's exactly the one they implemented. So now I need to win 4 races this season and finish in the top 64 of the team rankings. I think both are possible. Winning 4 races will be a difficult one, but I think we'll manage. There's actually another page when it comes to sponsors that I hadn't seen before, and it looks quite interesting, but I can't use it this year because I have a sponsor contract for next season. But I think depending on your visibility in races, the game will increase your chances of having contract offers by sponsors for the next season, is how I perceive this page. But hey, that's something we'll explore when it happens in the coming years, but we'll probably stick with REMBE for a while. Now, I did skip a day forward because I wanted to see which races we are actually attending and which ones we were declined for before setting up the individual rider objectives. And we were accepted for Czech Tour, Antalya, Norway, Flèche du Sud, but not for Tour de Luxembourg, Limburg, Valenciana, and Antwerp-Port d'Epic. So we'll have to adapt the calendar a little bit. Because Valenciana fell through, I don't really have a race in January, but I don't mind that too much, so I'll just start my season with Antalya in February, which is okay. And with Tour de Luxembourg falling through, I do think September is quite empty, so I'll try to add Wallonie, Kampioenschap van Vlaanderen, and Super 8 Classic to our racing schedule. Hopefully those races do accept me. Scrap that, it looks like those races don't want me at the start. Anyway, that means that I can finally set up the individual rider schedule and their personal objectives, so I'm gonna go do that for an hour. I'll be back. There we go. It took me a lot of work, but I've planned in the entire season for every single rider in our team. So that's behind us. Now the individual rider objectives. Jago will focus on stage races that have an uphill finish in stages, so Antalya, Turkey, Austria, and most importantly the Deutschland Tour in August. Just like Jago, Henry Johannes Appelbaum has a fairly similar schedule, so fairly similar objectives when it comes to the races that are most important, so the same stage races that do have uphill finishes. Jacob Scott is our likeliest rider of taking a victory this season, so I try to focus on not necessarily the Deutschland Tour, but for example, German one-day races like Rad am Ring that I believe he can do well in and potentially take that victory we're looking for, together with the likes of Tour de Taiwan, which has those hilly finishes that fits him. I try to go with that focus for Jacob Scott. So Taiwan, Köln, Rad am Ring, Erzgebirgsrundfahrt, and Münsterland Giro is what he's focusing on. Next to those riders, I also applied individual rider objectives to all the other riders, so we are set now when it comes to rider objectives for the entire season. Another important part was setting up our training, but I did that off camera. So for example, I hired a modern trainer so I could actually have a fitting trainer for Julian Braun, who has a modern training style. I already had a groundbreaking and traditional trainer, so those are applied to most of the riders as well. There's just a lot of riders that don't have a preferred training style yet, so we'll have to wait a bit until we know what type of training they want. That being said, a lot of axis of training was also wrong. So for example, Jacob Scott was set as a time trialist. I want him to train as a puncher instead. So I changed that for every single rider to the most fitting rider type. Now the next spot is the scouting. So we've got 2 scouts. Ivo Hinger, a Swiss guy. Detail of territories, he's solid when it comes to Switzerland, okay when it comes to Germany. And Umberto Inselvini, similar, but instead of Switzerland, it is Italy. So let's give these guys some work. So my plan is to focus on Germany, of course. So Germany, Ivo Hinger can go there. He can also go to Switzerland, considering that's his best country. And Inselvini can go towards Italy, because that is his best country. That's going to be our focus for scouting for now. And obviously, because we are basically 70% the U23 development team ourselves, we're not going to create a U23 team for ourselves yet. That comes at a later phase in this career mode, because that would not be realistic. Now the game is advising me to go on a training camp, and with a balance of 60.2k, I actually think that's risky. It's still expensive for us. Let's take a look, for example, if we go on a 10-day training camp, that's 12k for our team. So I'm gonna go on one, but maybe I'll stick to 5 days or something, which is probably not gonna be that effective, but at least we can pretend we did one then. So that's what I'll do. One day in the future, our team's going to be able to afford a full-on training camp in Tijden in Tenerife. I believe in it, but it won't be this year. Now, we are basically done when it comes to our season preparations, so the next step is going to be skipping towards our first race and riding our first races. But before we do that, I want to show you something. There's a unadvertised feature in Pro Cycling Manager 2024 called Facilities. And this is a page where I can invest as a team, either in rider-specific or team-wide research and development is how I look at it. For example, this one right here is rider-specific time trial training bikes that will improve +1 on race day condition for time trial stages for a full season is how I read this. But it doesn't stop there. Next to that, we've got made to measure molded handlebars, gets +1 on time trial and prologue stats for 2 seasons. Then the next one, made to measure time trial skin suits, plus 0.7 time trial and prologue attributes for a full season. That's 2K per rider. But then towards the right, we can see team-wide. And for example, this one, Materials Cobblestone Classics, +2 on cobblestone attributes for a full season after 2 weeks of researching. Like, this is worth it, but I'm just hoping that it's, like, if I look at the prices, for us as a Continental team, we can't really afford much here. But as a World Tour team, 30K is nothing, so I hope it scales with the size of team you have, also the costs of the team-wide research and development. But I really like this feature, and I can't wait to try it out, but we're going to have to wait a little bit, because if you look on the right, the finance projections, 37.5K rider salaries, 27.2 staff salaries, so we got 550 euros left to spend on research and development, which I can't buy anything with that, so I gotta earn ourselves some money and prize money first, so let's try and do that in our first race. Actually, I've got some bad news first. We just got an email from one of our trainers, Mario KICKR. As a result of testing after winter preparation, the trainers have updated their potentials of the young riders, or at least their evaluations of that. Iago Aguirre, potential is now 3.5 instead of 4, so the man just got less talented. How? Why? This is not how a season is supposed to start. Another email about Iago. Working with Iago is a bit tricky. My training style does not apply to him. Okay, looks like he has evolved into having a training style. Actually, that might be the case for more riders. So let's take a look here. Groundbreaking, yes, Iago can change. The other riders are still on a question mark. So we'll have to wait a little bit longer with the rest. Anyway, we have finally arrived at our first race of the season, the Tour of Antalya, a 4-day stage race in Turkey. And when it comes to the stages, we start off with a sprint stage, 145 kilometers, purely flat, maybe breakaway opportunity, we'll see. Stage 2 is quite a special one for me, because if you're new to the channel, you might not know this, but OGs might remember that in February I uploaded 2 videos of me being invited to the Tour of Antalya, and in the second video of that, I actually spent the day in the team car of REMBE Pro Cycling on this stage, from Demre to Antalya, mountain in the middle. This is a tricky stage because in real life it was a versatile sprint, but I don't actually know what to expect in Pro Cycling Manager. Kemer to Tachtele, bit of a mountain finish on stage 3, the queen stage of the race. And finally, we've got again a tricky stage on stage 4, set to be a sprint, but looks to be a pretty versatile one to me. We've actually got some trouble in our team. Paul Wright seems to have a does not feel well on him, and next to that, Iago Aguirre, decrease in energy, so I'm kind of doubtful whether I should actually select him for this race. Talking about Paul Wright, his stats went up. He's now got 70 hill, which he didn't have that at the start of this playthrough, so I'm not complaining. I will actually take these riders despite them not feeling the greatest, and I'll assign a doctor to the race so that hopefully they get better along the way. Anyway, stage 1 is a sprint stage, so we'll either go for Paul Wright, who has 66 sprint, or Rotman, Johnny, who has 67 sprint, depending on the daily form in the race itself. Let's get started. So this is my first race in Pro Cycling Manager in a very long time, so I'm quite rusty, so let's hope this first race has a relatively okay result. When it comes to our sprinter, it was between Paul Wright, who has, +2 race day condition, 68 sprint, 69 acceleration, and we had Rotman with 0 on the race, so 67 on both stats. So Paul Wright is looking like our sprinter for the day, to be honest. But before we actually enter the race, I do want to talk about a new or revamped feature in the game, which is the revamped information screen in the race itself. The profile tab, as you can see here, is looking a little bit differently now on the right side of the screen. We've got the groups at the bottom. The start list is interesting though, because I have no clue who's actually racing in this race. Henry Ulich, proper sprinter at Alpecin, 70 full sprint. We've got Sinkeldam as his lead out, or also as sprinter, because he has the same sprint stat, a bit less acceleration, will depend on daily form. Quinten Hermans and Laurence and Conchi, punchers, GC riders, combination of that. Joseph Blackmore at IPT Academy, we've got him as GC rider there. Matthew Brennan as the sprinting option for Visma Leasebike Dev Team, and Nordhagen for GC, or maybe Tijmen Gerard, also an opportunity there. When it comes to the other sprinters, there's some other guys like Banashek and Ben Dixon, but reality is it's probably going to be a guy that we've already mentioned. Probably not actually. Probably just going to be some random Polish dude on Voster ATS that wins this stage. But anyway, we're going to jump into the race. We're going to start off by selecting everybody. Let's try and figure out how to do this again. Take position at the front. Put them on 85, and since Wright is going to be our sprinter, I'm going to protect him with Julian Bores during the stage. So there we go. I won't go in the breakaway in this stage because I want to try and keep it simple so I can figure out how this game works again. With nearly 20 kilometers left, we're going to take a look at our team and try to make our sprint train. So we said Wright is our sprinter, Rotman can be the lead out for today. Fogge has a pretty good day, so I'm actually going to put him as our third man in our sprint train, and next to that, I will go ahead and put maybe Henry as our first man. I think that's our four-man sprint train. I want to keep it to 4, just because I want to keep it a bit less chaotic for this first stage, because once again, I'm pretty rusty with this game. 9 kilometers left, we've got a full train by UnoX at the front, and next to us we have a full train of Visma Leasebike development team for Matthew Brennan. So those are the ones we're fighting, and I gotta be honest, we're kind of losing the battle for positioning here because this is a really technical final. 6 kilometers to go, let's go 99 on our boys. Fogge can be ready as well. NHL on everybody except Paul Wright at the moment. I'm going to try and launch early on this one because if this is technical, the final sprint will probably be the same. And I'm going to go for Appelbaum to launch a sprint right now. Fogge can try and do that. Appelbaum out of the way. There we go. Johnny needs to be ready to launch relatively soon. Paul Wright in the wheel of Johnny. Come on, come on, come on. Launch right now, Johnny. We're going to go early. We're going to go early. Fogge, get out of the way. Paul Wright in the wheel of Johnny. This is great. This is very good. But Paul Wright is getting dropped by his own lead out. We've got Ben Dixon coming around. I think we went for the wrong rider when it comes to the sprint, guys. Matthew Brennan, Frachak versus Sinkeldam. You gotta be kidding me that Frachak's winning. Probably just gonna be some random Polish dude on Voster ATS that wins this stage. But anyway, oh my god, a Polish rider on Voster is winning this sprint. I can't believe it. In the end, we finished 12th and 13th with Wright and Rotman, but I gotta be honest, I was hoping for that top 10 position at least, because there's some riders in the top 11 here, like Logenstein in front of us, that we should be able to beat. Now stage 2, this one's going to be interesting depending on how hard the climb is spaced in the stage, relatively short stage as well, so that climb might have an effect. Now the game is predicting a fight off between the punchers, so Alpecin basically versus Cajamini from Kolpak, which is a pretty talented Italian rider, Kulsit from UnoX, Joe Blackmore, Widar from Lotto, also quite talented, and so forth. The climb's about to start, 3 riders in the breakaway and a gap of 2 minutes 20 towards the peloton where the other teams are controlling. In the peloton I've got Aguirre and Henry looking pretty good, protected by multiple riders, and let's see what happens on the climb. Will anybody light it up? We probably won't. And it looks like the other teams aren't lighting it up either. Matthew Brennan, sprinter for Visma, is the one pacing at the front, and we're kind of chilling, so let's try and keep it that way. Remember when I said I wasn't going to light it up? Well, I lied, because I am lighting it up on the last 3 kilometer uphill segment of this climb. Bores is almost done for. He's going to try and hammer it with the last bit of energy he has towards the top there, and the rest of the team just has to hold on while I try to rip this peloton apart, and it is somewhat working, but not as effective as I maybe hoped it would. Nihoy's next is you. I might try and get Rotman over the climb though, because he does have a sprint, and well, if this comes down to a sprint, I want to have a sprinter. Well, whatever I just did was actually quite effective, because the group is now 39 people, and quite a few riders are behind, so hopefully that makes it a bit more easy for us to have a good result at the end. Oh my god, my entire team just fell. Everybody that mattered in my team just fell. Actually, no. Aguirre and Appelbaum didn't even fall. They were following the rider that fell, so they stopped. They sat on the ground with them. Oh my god. How do I even come back from this? They're a minute and a half behind. Oh god, let's make a bit of a train. Boresh go all out in the peloton, stop pacing, because obviously I am behind. And let's see if we can save this, because this is a major crisis. There's the peloton. Come on, Boresh. Come on, Boresh. You can close this. You can do this, Julian. I believe in you. And we are getting to the back of the group again. Come on. No, don't ride away again. Come on, guys. Close it. Julian, yeah, there we go. We've got it. Because at the front, things are definitely not calm. Nordhagen, Fippen, Valent, Coté, Kulsid, and Fratchak are all on the attack. I'm trying to control it at the front while trying to get my boys back to the front. So this has been a very stressful stage. They're out of water, but they're going to have to deal with that. Boresh, you are basically done for. Aguirre can close the gap towards right now, and we've got a 6-man train to control the last 10 kilometers. Let's try and do this. 6 kilometers to go. We've got too many riders, I think, but we're about to catch Fratchak, so that is about as perfect as it can be. Looks like Ride will take over. There we go. Aguirre, he's in our sprint train. He's not even that fitting for it, but I'll use him for it anyway. Energy shells on everybody. Fratchak attacking actually helps us because that's one sprinter that doesn't have all his energy for the final sprint. Ride can go right now. This might be the one, guys. We've got a proper lead out set up. Aguirre can launch right now. Appelbaum in the wheel. We are spending a lot of energy on our sprinter already, so that's not great. Fratchak in the wheel. We're going to have to launch right now, but no. Don't beat me. Don't beat me. No. Come on, Polish man. Stay in the wheel. Stay in the wheel. Stay in the wheel. Come on. Johnny does it. We've got our stage win. Jonathan Malte-Rotman takes a stage win of 1 and 3 for our team, REMBE Pro Cycling, on stage 2 of Tour of Antalya. I am so incredibly happy with that because I thought the Polish dude would beat us. 2 race days in, and already a rider of ours on the podium with a stage win during this season. So Johnny's done it. Quite happy with that, proud of him, and hopefully more will come. Johnny does move up to 2nd in GC, but reality is there's a mountain stage coming, so that's quickly going to disappear. But Henry's a better climber though. Honestly, I completely forgot morale was a thing in this game. He's now very happy, Johnny, because he's got a victory, and the rest of the team seems to be happy as well. Jago and Henry with a good result. And most of all, I'm happy because we got one of our 4 season objective race victories, so let's hope they keep coming. Before we get to stage 3, I do want to take a look at the roster of our team because I feel like quite a bit of riders on our team have different stats than which we started with at the start of this career mode because of evolution. Jago is actually not our best climber anymore. It's now Henry Johannes Appelbaum with 68 mountains, so that's some progression. And like we noticed earlier, Paul Wright is now 70 hills, so quite a bit stronger when it comes to his punch. It's also welcome to see that Dominic Wise is now 69 sprint. I think he was lower than that before. But anyway, that's it when it comes to the changes in our team. Let's go to stage 3 with a victory in our pocket, but I don't expect a repeat of that because we've got the Queen stage ahead of us, mountain stage finishing on the Tachtele climb. The favorites are Kanshi, Kulsud, Widar, and so forth, so the climbers, but it's only 73 mountains, so if, for example, we have 69 on Henry with a good day, we might not be too far off of that. We've got a +3 on our sprinter, so that's not very helpful. We've got a 0 day on Henry, who has 69 mountain, and Jago with 68 mountain, so not the greatest start, but we can work with it. Hopefully we can finish in the top 10 on this climb. 12 kilometers to go. We've got a 4-man train at the front of the peloton, Henry at the back. And to be honest, I didn't show you the last climb. It's 6.9 kilometers at 9.1%. The Tachtele climb, it's quite steep. So this is going to be a tough one. I do think it starts climbing before the climb even arrives. Yeah, it does. So we have some time to catch a breakaway. I'm not too fussed about that anyway. I'm just going to try and get my best possible result from the peloton, and Henry's our man for that. We are in control. Energy shells on literally everybody right now. And I'm going to try and up it a little bit towards 90 now because I feel like we are doing some damage in this group, or at least stretching it out enough so no one can really attack. 2 kilometers to go. We're a group of 6 riders. Really? There's a gap? Yes, there is a gap. Herman's now pushing. I'm trying to keep some red energy so I can actually sprint at the end of the stage, but on paper, Herman's will destroy us here. Aguirre, come on, Jago. Come on, Jago. It's now your turn to pace. Henry in the wheel. Let's get the best result possible. Hermans versus Kajamini at the front. The rest is now coming by. I'm just trying to do my best here with Appelbaum. Don't get blocked by Jago. Come on, Henry. Get the best possible result. Best possible result. 300 meters to go. Let's start your sprint. That's not that brilliant, but I do think we will finish in the top 10. Stage 1 by Quinten Hermans on a mountain of 9.1%, 7 kilometers. That's crazy. I'll be honest, I am quite surprised at how passive that final climb was, to the point that I'm kind of doubtful whether I made a mistake going for Henry and Yago instead of someone like Paul Wright, who has that punchy ability, because he might have actually been able to finish quite well on this finish. That being said, 6th, 7th, 8th, I can't complain with this. I am curious when it comes to GC though. We're now 16 GC, 8th and 10th, so I'm very happy with that. The parkour of stage 4 is more of a sprint stage, kinda looks like stage 2, but a lighter version of it. Sinkeldam is the favorite. We're gonna try and go for a sprint, maybe try to make the climb a bit hard like we did on stage 2, and we'll see where we land. So, last stage of the race, we've got Sebastian with a +2, but he ain't a sprinter. Henry with a +1, making him 66 sprint. We've got Johnny with a -1. Come on, man. The worst day to have that. Paul Wright with a good stat. He's got 68 sprint, but I believed in Paul on stage 1 and it didn't really work out, so I kind of don't know what to do now. A part of Pro Cycling Manager that has become quite a bit more realistic is this phase with 10 kilometers to go, where there's so many sprint trains basically next to each other lining up for positioning, and that's exactly what happens in real life. And we've got Julian trying to keep ourselves up here, but let's hope it stays that way because we've still got 8 kilometers to go until the finish line. Oh, this is chaotic. Washing machine effect everywhere. Sebastian trying to get ourselves in position. Henry in the wheel, or at least trying to be in the wheel. 3 kilometers to go. We should go with Henry. Let's get Seb out of the way. Can I launch somehow? Not really. I'm stuck behind everybody. I'll have to go with Johnny already. Paul Wright is so blocked in as well. It's like a bunch of ants. We've got Hermans on the right. Someone's coming through. Is that Henry? Henry's gonna be maybe in the top 10. I don't know, but it is Ramon Sinkeldam that wins for Alpecin. Jus Oosterlink in front of Bendixen finishing on the podium as well. But a solid finish, another top 10. So is it another top 10? No, it isn't. We got 11th. No. Aw, that's devastating. Anyway, that was Henry that finished 11th, which was the third last rider in our lead out. The second last rider in our lead out, Johnny, got 14th, and our sprinter Paul Wright got 18th. So something went wrong in the final sprint. I think we can say that. But anyway, we got a stage win in this race, so I can't really complain. Next to that, 7th, 9th, and 10th in GC. That's a bit lower than what we saw at the end of last stage, but Bendixen took some bonus seconds, so that's how he passed us. Anyway, that brings us to the end of our first episode of our career mode with REMBE Pro Cycling Team Sauerland. Next time, we're starting in Croatia with Trofej Umag and Trofej Porec. After that, Tour de Taiwan, and next to that also the Olympia Tour with plenty of sprints, so can't wait to get there. As always, I want to thank you for watching today's video, and I want to thank REMBE Pro Cycling for sponsoring this series. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.